In my past life, I was truly despicable. I stole credit for my elder brother's achievements, snatched my younger sister's marriage prospect, and forced Bu Ming to take me as his principal wife. That was why when I died so miserably, no one wanted to see me. Bu Ming even said coldly, "If she has the guts to actually die, that would be perfect. Tomorrow I will marry Ning Yuan into the household. I will fulfill his wish." When I opened my eyes again, I returned to the exact moment the Empress Dowager smiled and asked what reward I wanted. I no longer acted spoiled and said I wanted to marry Brother Bu. Instead, I looked at the elderly lady and said softly, "Yun Shi wishes to stay by the Empress Dowager's side and accompany Her Highness to the Imperial Temple for spiritual cultivation." The Imperial Temple was strict and remote. Once one set foot on that path, everything could go exactly as they wished, and from then on we would never meet again. My answer made the Empress Dowager pause. She stroked my cheek and asked, "Good child, are these words sincere? Do you understand what it means to go to the Imperial Temple with me?" "Of course I do," I answered. It was a solemn and sacred place of the imperial family. Once you entered, you generally could not return. But that was precisely what I wanted, to never return. Because in my previous life I had not known that the Empress Dowager had mistaken me for my elder brother who saved her. When she asked what reward I desired, I had only thought her a kind old lady, and happily acted spoiled like a child. Yun Si likes Brother Bu. Yun Si wants to marry Brother Bu. I had always been doted on, just like the short-lived princess the Empress Dowager once had. Hearing this, she naturally granted everything. Bu Ming and Ning Yuan were childhood sweethearts. They were a perfect match. If that was the case, then choose a day for the wedding. No wonder the old lady had spoken that way. Everyone in Jinling knew that Shen Yunxi and Bu Ming had always been as close as shadow and form. I was lively and arrogant. Bu Ming simply smiled and indulged me. "My temper is quick," he would say, yet he patiently coaxed me. Everyone said young Master Bu was cursed with 8 lifetimes of bad luck to meet such a willful young miss, yet no one understood why he never found me troublesome. I once raised my chin and pressed him. "Bu Ming, I am neither gentle nor kind. Do you despise me for being wicked and troublesome?" Back then I had already decided. If he said yes, I would ignore him from then on. But he only glanced at me and smiled faintly. To be beside the one I love, how could I ever find Yun Shi troublesome? The handsome refined youth spoke every word with straightforward sincerity. The young girl lost in romantic fantasies acted proud on the outside, yet her heart was unbearably sweet. So I naturally failed to notice the way Bu Ming looked at me, nor the quiet demure younger sister standing behind me, nor the blush that colored her cheeks the instant those words left his lips. That was why, when I clutched the imperial edict granting our marriage and ran home in delight to show off to my elder brother and Bu Ming, what I received was a slap across the face. What had I said then? I must have rushed to the rear courtyard. The sound of the pipa still lingered, graceful and mournful, Shen Ning Yuan playing. She sat calmly in the center. My elder brother and Bu Ming held their wine cups in silence, listening as if they were the legendary Boya and Zhongziqi, at ease and content. The scene was beautiful enough to be a painting. No wonder people sighed with regret. Ning Yuan was talented beyond compare, graceful and refined. No matter how one looked at it, she resembled the legitimate younger sister of Generals Shen far more than the girl named Shen Yunxi. They had even been given the title, the 3 talents of the forest, and were praised throughout the land. Unlike me, I only knew how to ruin the atmosphere. "Elder brother, Bu Ming, look what I got." My loud, jarring voice brutally cut through the sorrowful pipa melody. All 3 turned toward me. Shen Ningyuan looked at me with perfect respect. My elder brother was displeased. "Shen Yunxi, who gave you permission to shout like that? Have you learned any manners at all? Our parents died early. Where was I supposed to learn manners?" I snorted. I could not understand why he suddenly turned so fierce. But Bu Ming only frowned slightly before smiling and asking what it was. I immediately stepped forward happily and waved the edict. Look, Bu Ming, this time you've struck gold. An elder brother no longer needs to worry about my marriage." My voice brimmed with excitement as I unfolded the edict, the proof that I could finally marry Bu Ming. I was so overjoyed I failed to notice that when the edict appeared, the other 3 froze. Shen Ningyuan turned deathly pale. Bu Ming stood stunned, then suddenly lost control and lunged forward to snatch it. He stared at it in panic, gripping so tightly it hurt me to tears. "What are you doing? You're hurting me." Shen Xingyun seized my wrist and refused to let go, his voice harsh. "What edict? Where did you get this? Why were they all acting so strange?" I truly did not understand. "Of course it was granted by the Empress Dowager," I said cheerfully. "Shen Xingyun, I've had incredible luck. Today the Empress Dowager was in a generous mood and insisted I name a wish for her to grant. I couldn't refuse even if I tried. Weren't you the one who always said I was stupid and not as beautiful as Ning Yuan? That I'd never find a husband once I came of age? So I begged the Empress Dowager to grant me marriage to Brother Bu. I smiled radiantly, but the very next second a crisp slap rang out. My elder brother struck me so hard I staggered and fell to the ground. Pain exploded across my face. I stared up in disbelief and saw that he too looked stunned, as if he had not expected to actually hit me. Yet after only a moment his expression twisted with fury. He gritted his teeth and snarled, "Shen Yunxi, how could you be so vicious?" That edict was the special reward I had saved to beg for Ningyuan and Bu Ming's marriage. My mind went blank. I gaped in shock. What marriage? Shen Xingyun laughed coldly. At this point you're still pretending? You've always taken everything from Ningyuan. She never competed with you for anything, yet now you even steal her husband. Shen Yunxi, how could I have a sister like you? My elder brother, the one who had held my hand when mother died and promised to take care of me, had just spoken the words he most wanted to say in this life. Why couldn't the one who crawled out of the concubine's belly have been Ning Yuan instead of me? He was convinced I had stolen the credit that belonged to him. Because when the Empress Dowager was attacked on her way to offer incense, her mind had been hazy, and she only remembered a blurry face. Since Shen Xingyun and I looked 7 parts alike, he hated me to the bone. But how could this be? Shen Ningyuan and Bu Ming, how could it be? Clearly he had always followed me, no matter how I tried to drive him away. He had once said that being beside the one he loved meant he would never find it troublesome. That person was Bu Ming. It was because Ningyuan observed strict propriety and had never accepted my invitations, always saying she was a noble legitimate daughter and only went out when she chose. Bu Ming's voice rang out as he lowered his head, his gaze complicated as he looked at me. I only followed you because I wanted to see her, he said. The person in my heart has always been Shen Ningyuan. I instinctively turned to look. Shen Ningyuan had already turned her face away, her eyes red but her expression stubborn and cold. Heaven had played a cruel joke on me. The proudest young lady in Jinling had become the biggest laughingstock that day. Half my face burning red, I clutched the ridiculous edict and stood alone, abandoned, branded a shameless villain, with no sense of shame or self-awareness, in everyone's eyes. Who did not know that talented Ningyuan and talented Bu Ming were a perfect match? Only I, blind to my own limits, had shamelessly clung to him. Poor Ningyuan, such a beautiful fate ruined because of me. My elder brother also resented me. He believed that because of me the soul deep bond between those two had been severed and they could no longer face each other. So on the night before I was to leave for my wedding, he requested to go to the front lines and said coldly, "If you want to marry so badly, why should I escort you? Walk out on your own." I went to find Shen Ningyuan, but she shut her door and refused to see me. The legitimate elder sister has already gotten what she wanted. Why keep humiliating Ningyuan again and again? I tried to explain to Bu Ming, but he only said in disappointment, "I never thought you could be so seeming." They all hated me to the extreme. When news of my death arrived from the authorities, everyone assumed I was throwing another tantrum to beg for forgiveness. After all, whenever I made a mistake before, I would do the same to make them anxious and come looking. But this time Shen Ningyuan scolded, "Elder sister has a big temper, but she shouldn't use life and death as an excuse." My elder brother sneered openly and threw the letter into the fire. Bu Ming, still carrying his own resentment, simply believed I had made him lose the love of his life forever. After all, Shen Ningyuan only wanted one person for one lifetime, and would never become a concubine. Yet Bu Ming and I had been granted marriage by imperial edict and could never divorce. Even then I was still the same as before, lying and throwing tantrums to fight for favor. So when he heard the news, he only said coldly, "If she has the guts to actually die, that would be even better. Tomorrow I will marry Ningyuan into the household." If I had heard those words in the past, I would never have been able to hold back from jumping out and cursing him for being heartless. But this time I fulfilled his wish. When I opened my eyes again, I returned to the moment the Empress Dowager smiled and asked what reward I wanted. I no longer acted spoiled and said I wanted to marry Brother Bu. Instead I looked at the elderly lady and said softly, "Yunxi wishes to stay by the Empress Dowager's side and accompany Her Highness to the Imperial Temple for spiritual cultivation." The Imperial Temple was strict and remote. Once one went there, everything could go exactly as they wished, and from then on we would never meet again. The Empress Dowager ultimately agreed to my request. When she saw me, my eyes red, I threw myself into her arms and sobbed. Niang Niang is like Yunxi's mother. Yunxi wants to stay by your side forever. In my past life I had died before mother's grave, so they were wrong. Every time they provoked me and gathered to chat without inviting me, I had not deliberately run out to make them worry and come searching. I was simply too foolish. I did not understand why they all told me. They each had their own matters and could not bring me along. Yet I would accidentally stumble upon their private little gatherings where they smiled at one another, so perfectly in tune that there was no room for a fourth person. Shen Ningyuan would say, "Is it really all right for us to sneak out like this without elder sister?" Shen Xingyun would reply with perfect logic that I was so stupid and crude I would only ruin the atmosphere. What right did I have to be angry? Bu Ming said nothing. He simply pushed a cup of green tea toward her. Bu Ming looked at Shen Ningyuan until she lowered her head in embarrassment, then reached out and took the cup. The warmth still seemed to linger on its rim. They never crossed any lines. They observed strict propriety. It was simply spring at its most beautiful enough to burn. Otherwise, why did my heart ache so badly? Why did I feel as if none of them liked me? But how could that be? My elder brother, my younger sister, and Bu Mingthe were the closest people in my life. I could not figure it out and could only walk alone to mother's grave. I lay face down on the tombstone and cried, murmuring, "Mother, mother, I miss you so much." You would hug me and sing lullabies. I would tell Shen Xingyun to take good care of his little sister, and I would tell Bu Ming, "Yunxi may be willful, but she has no evil heart. If one day you no longer like her, then let her be free. Do not hurt her." Back then I did not understand what like meant. Later, when I understood, it turned out mother had been mistaken. The person Bu Ming liked was clearly not me. So if it was not me, then why, when mother spoke to him like that, had he answered, "Bu Ming understands"? I remembered again the moment before death in my past life. I had encountered the remnants of the mountain bandits that Shen Xingyun and Bu Ming had long since wiped out. They hated those two to the bone, but could never take revenge, so they captured me instead. Before, you still had shadow guards beside you. We couldn't make a move many times, but recently they've been gone. Since that's the case, you can repay the debt Shen Xingyun and Bu Ming owe us. Those brutal tortures were all inflicted on me. The pain made me roll on the ground. I cried out for my brother, for Bu Ming. I was wrong. I won't like him anymore. "Anyone, please save me." No one came. In the end, unable to bear the agony any longer, I jumped off the cliff. My bones shattered, flesh torn. The pain was so great that the moment I revived, I burst into tears and threw myself into the elderly lady's arms. "Niang Niang, take Yunxi with you. Yunxi will be good. I absolutely won't run around." The Empress Dowager, who had lost her beloved daughter many years ago, also had red eyes. She wiped my tears and said hoarsely, "This child, how much suffering have you endured? If you want to go with anyone, then go. I will never mistreat you." It seemed I had done the right thing. I clearly explained that the one who saved the Empress Dowager back then was not me but Shen Xingyun, and I followed Her Highness to the strictest imperial temple, completely fulfilling everyone's wishes so they would never have to see me again. Even the carriage to the temple departed in the afternoon, bustling and crowded, so naturally no one knew. At that moment my elder brother and Bu Ming were both rushing toward the palace in panic. They saw the palace maid beside the Empress Dowager, anxiously saying, "Niang Niang, please do not believe that demoness. The one who saved you back then was General Shen, wasn't it?" The palace maid understands clearly. Second young Miss Shen already explained everything to the Empress Dowager. The two froze, then asked in shock, "What?" The maid continued. Before Her Highness left for the temple, she instructed that General Shen, for his service in saving her, may request any reward and she will grant it. How is that possible? How could Shen Xingyun could not believe it, but Bu Ming caught the key point and frowned. Niang Niang went to the temple. "So where is second young Miss Shen? Where is she? When will she return?" The maid smiled. "What is the Lord saying?" "Second young Miss Shen has sincerely offered herself in service. This morning she already requested to accompany Her Highness to the temple to pray for blessings. The imperial temple is strict and remote. Accompanying the imperial carriage, of course she will not return." Thump. The handkerchief in Bu Ming's hand fell to the ground. On it were clumsily embroidered clouds, something I had once sewn for him with my own hands. Back then he had always stayed by my side and said he would never find me troublesome. I had been so happy and shyly shared it with my younger sister. Today he said those words to me. "Does that mean he likes me?" Shen Ningyuan lowered her eyes and smiled faintly. Elder sister is a noble legitimate daughter of a great house. Naturally everyone likes her. I believed her and thought I should give Bu Ming a gift. But I was not as talented as Shen Ningyuan. I could not write poetry for him or play the pipa for him to hear. And because he was a scholar who hated the smell of money and disliked extravagance, I could only pester the maids in the residence to teach me embroidery. But that handkerchief was truly difficult to embroider. By the end my fingers were covered in needle pricks. When I finally gave it to Bu Ming, Shen Xingyun saw and mocked. "Shen Yunxi, what nonsense are you up to now? Your hand is swollen like a pig's trotter." Even Shen Ningyuan covered her mouth and laughed. Elder sister's needlework is truly terrible. From then on I gained another nickname, Clumsy Hands and Feet. After all, they were all laughing. I did not understand what was so funny, but I knew that laughter made me uncomfortable, so I rarely contradicted Shen Ningyuan. Even if my skill was poor, I had still embroidered it stitch by stitch. What's so funny about that? It was just ordinary bickering between sisters, but she must have looked down on me from the bottom of her heart. Someone as proud and refined as her speaking a few flattering words to a stupid, useless thing like me was already giving me face. Now I had shamelessly contradicted her in front of everyone. Her expression stiffened, a flash in her eyes. But I did not see it. I had already chased Shen Xingyun across the courtyard, wanting to hit him. Bu Ming still stood there holding the handkerchief with both hands and asked her complicatedly, "Was this your idea? You clearly knew." "Knew what?" Shen Ningyuan's face darkened. Seeing the handkerchief in Bu Ming's hands, she suddenly laughed coldly, disgusted, and threw her fan to the ground. "She is the legitimate daughter. Whatever she wants to say, how would I dare disobey? And you accepted it too. Who knows who you truly have in your heart?" She stormed off in anger. The handkerchief and fan fell into the mud. Bu Ming wanted to pick them up but hurried after her instead, because he knew Shen Ningyuan had always been proud, and, because of her status as a concubine-born daughter, her temperament was especially suspicious and moody. Whenever she was unhappy, she would either leave him behind or smash everything he had given her. It had happened before. So I had embroidered a handkerchief for Bu Ming stitch by stitch, pricking my fingers until they bled. Bu Ming had once given Shen Ningyuan a wooden doll, and his palms had also been cut open. The difference was that the wooden doll he gave was smashed to pieces, while the handkerchief I embroidered fell into the mud, yet I still called out to him from behind. Bu Ming turned his head and saw the young girl standing in the spring sunlight picking up the handkerchief. Her face dotted with sweat as she ran toward him, scolding, "You all say I'm careless, but sometimes you're even more muddle-headed than me. You didn't even notice the handkerchief fell. Keep it safe. If you lose it again, I won't want you anymore." The young girl stood with hands on hips, pretending to threaten him. The wind blew her skirts, making the person before him even more bright-eyed and smiling, enough to make Bu Ming's heart tremble. But now the handkerchief had fallen again, and the person who once said she would not want him anymore had truly left. Beside my ear, Shen Xingyun's voice was filled with confusion. "How is this possible? How can it be? She has been pampered since childhood and hates suffering the most. How could she willingly go to such a bitter place?" That was right. When mother was alive, she protected me like the apple of her eye. After she passed, my brother followed her wishes and took good care of me. At least he never let me suffer the slightest hardship. Because he also remembered that when we were little, he had fought with others over Shen Ningyuan, an angered father receiving a beating. No one dared to stop it except me. I ran to find Shen Ningyuan and told her to come with me to beg father for mercy. What I received was Shen Ningyuan shutting her door and saying stubbornly, "He insisted on fighting. It has nothing to do with me. I'm only a lowly concubine-born daughter. Father can do whatever he wants. I wouldn't dare disobey." With no other choice, I could only run out and take the blame, saying I had been naughty. My elder brother had only acted recklessly because of me. Why? Shen Xingyun also wanted to know. Before, he had always criticized me as a stupid little sister, saying I was inferior to Shen Ningyuan in 1,000 ways. 10,000 ways, like the time I was beaten so badly I could not get out of bed. Yet now his eyes turned red. Hearing me, he said seriously, "It doesn't hurt. Why are you crying? Mother said we are siblings born of the same mother, the closest people in this world. No matter how much we usually argue or fight, when something truly happens we must help each other, and I am the one who listens to mother the most." Seeing that he was about to cry, I put on my usual bickering face and said playfully, "If you really remember this favor of mine, then from now on, as my elder brother, you must protect me well. After all, this is all a debt you owe me." Only then did he laugh through his tears, putting on the air of an elder brother. "Fine, I agree. What else can I do?" Just like he once agreed with mother. He broke his promise. He did not protect me well. In my past life, when he received the letter from the mountain bandits, threatening that if he did not come I would die, he only sneered and threw the letter into the fire. She stole Ning Yuan's marriage, caused Brother Bu to lose the love of his life, committed such a huge mistake, and still wants to use this childish lie to fool me? I've clearly spoiled her too much all these years. The shadow guards meant to protect her keep guarding Ning Yuan instead. She's been holding a grudge and came to me asking for more people to command, so give them to her first. That Shen Yunxi doesn't need them anyway. Giving them to her would only let others follow her around causing trouble. So later, as he saw me again, all he saw was a Shen Yunxi covered in wounds, her bones already shattered. The maid's words slowly pulled the two men back to reality. She only answered Shen Xingyun's question by saying that the Empress Dowager had already spoken to second young Miss Shen. But second young Miss Shen replied that she had already endured suffering 1,000 times, 10,000 times worse before, so she was not afraid now. Shen Yunxi had always been pampered and hated suffering the most. In the end she endured all those tortures, fell off a cliff and shattered her bones and flesh. How could she possibly be afraid anymore? A loud crash of thunder rolled across the spring sky, followed by the patter of rain. I dreamed a dream. I dreamed of the scene after I died in my past life. By then I was already Bu Ming's wife. The first person the authorities found was Bu Ming. At that moment, Shen Ningyuan was sitting upright in the main hall of the Bu residence, cold and arrogant. With perfect composure she said to Bu Ming, "If elder sister still doubts me, to the point that rumors are spreading throughout Jinling that I had an affair with my brother-in-law, then today I will return every single thing Lord Bu ever gave me. From now on, Lord Bu need not think of me, and I need not think of Lord Bu." Her bearing was decisive, her style bright and upright, proclaiming her innocence completely. Then she heard the officials arrive to ask questions. She laughed coldly. "Elder sister has a big temper, but she shouldn't use life and death as an excuse. Isn't she just trying to force me to withdraw? I'll go far away then, so I won't disgust people wherever I go." Looking at it this way, I'm the one who seems stubborn and unwilling to let go, using my status as legitimate daughter to bully others excessively. Bu Ming already felt guilty toward her, so he anxiously tried to stop her. Ning Yuan grew angry at my bullying, and turned to the officials. "If she has the guts to actually die, that would be even better. Tomorrow I will marry Ning Yuan into the household." He knew that if I heard those words I would never pretend anymore, and would rush back furiously to cause trouble. But I did not. The officials only looked confused and asked strangely, "Then what about the body? Should we bring it to the Shen residence?" Bu Ming asked blankly, "What body?" The officials carrying my corpse finally entered and pulled back the white cloth, revealing my face cut open by rocks, no longer breathing. Of course it was the body of Madame Bu. I was so frightened I woke up, because it truly was a corpse, too horrible to look at. Not a single patch of skin remained intact, and from rolling down the cliff every bone had been broken. The officials sighed. Madame Bu was truly worthy of being a descendant of a military family. Even after enduring all those tortures she never submitted. With fierce resolve, she jumped off the cliff. Her body lay exposed in the wilderness. The coroner said her death must have been extremely painful. Those words, neither loud nor soft, made the two people still immersed in love and hatred freeze. Shen Ningyuan's face turned deathly pale. Bu Ming's arm, which had been about to pull her back, went limp. He stood there stunned, his pupils trembling, even his voice shaking. "Shen Yunxi, the girl who used to stand with hands on hips, scolding me and arguing with me, will never wake up again." No matter how he called, she would not wake. In the end he finally panicked. How is this possible? She was clearly still fine before. Besides, the Shen family has always protected her, and she had several shadow guards beside her. Because I had shadow guards, after learning I left the residence he did not send anyone to follow. But saying this, he suddenly stopped, as if realizing something, and sharply turned to look at Shen Ningyuan beside him. No, perhaps he should have been looking at the servants who had helped her carry the betrothal gifts into the residence today. That gaze was so terrifying that even Shen Ningyuan's eyes flashed with fear. She forced her lips together, maintaining her cold, arrogant air as a talented lady. "Why are you looking at me like that? It's not like I killed her." She had only said half the sentence when she cried out in shock, because Bu Ming had seized both her wrists. His eyes red as he lost control and demanded, "Why are these people here? Why do they all obey your orders? Where is Shen Xingyun? Where are the shadow guards Shen Xingyun's assigned to Yun?" "Shadow guards? What shadow guards?" Shen Xingyun arrived late and entered the main hall, asking in confusion upon hearing this. Shen Ningyuan, her wrists gripped painfully by Bu Ming, brightened when she heard his voice and looked over. "Elder brother, save me." She had always been the one protected. In Shen Xingyun's words, she was as sturdy as an ox, but Ningyuan was a refined, talented lady. How could she be like me? So when he saw Bu Ming's loss of control, he immediately stepped forward to pull her away. Bu Ming, have you gone mad? That's Ningyuan. In response, he received a punch from Bu Ming. Completely unprepared, he could not dodge. After coming to his senses, he staggered back 2 steps and fell heavily to the ground. Looking up, he found himself facing my corpse placed right beside him. Bu Ming's voice was filled with despair and sorrow. Shen Xingyun, I'm asking you, where are the shadow guards that were supposed to be beside Yunxi? After that, I fell into a deep sleep, so the dream became hazy. I only remembered that at my funeral they seemed to have fought into a brawl, with Shen Ningyuan's screams mixed in, caught in the crossfire. Bu Ming's eyes were full of pain. She died because of you and me. Aren't you her elder brother? Where are the shadow guards? Why did you withdraw all of hers? Now that she's dead, are you satisfied? Shen Xingyun refused to back down. These past days my elder brother had also shed many tears. His eyes red, he grabbed Bu Ming's collar and said painfully, You lecture me, but what about you? You were clearly her husband. Why didn't you even search for her after she left home for 3 days? Bu Ming, she liked you so much, happily married you. Even if her methods weren't honorable, why didn't you remember even a shred of your old affection? She only wanted one person for one lifetime, and would never become a concubine. Yet, you and she were granted marriage by imperial edict and could never divorce. They both suffered terribly. Everyone said Lord Bu had lost his beloved wife, and General Shen had lost his blood sister. They were so grief-stricken they could not recover. It even made the emperor dissatisfied, and their future prospects looked worrisome. But clearly they hated me the most. Why? Why in the end did even Shen Ningyuan come to my grave and say resentfully, Shen Yunxi, are you satisfied now? Because of your death, elder brother and Bu Ming both blame me. They take their anger out on me, saying, if it weren't for me you wouldn't have died. But what does any of this have to do with me? Those shadow guards were given to me by them, it's not like I stole them. Her words were still as cold and heartless as before, as if nothing in the world could enter her eyes, and nothing could be blamed on her. After all, it was all Shen Xingyun and Bu Ming's own doing. Before, the two of them only felt that her behavior was the proud aloofness of a talented lady, unlike me who was petty and calculating. So when Shen Xingyun and Bu Ming heard her say this, they were stunned and could not believe it. Bu Ming even stared at her and said, That was your elder sister. You don't even have any expression. You don't care at all. Weren't you the one who said it? She's my elder sister. I'm only a concubine-born daughter, pitiful to begin with. What is there to cry about? In that instant, the two of them seemed to be meeting her for the first time. Their eyes were filled with unfamiliarity. From then on, neither of them cared about her anymore. Just as she once said, with the two of them protecting her, even though she was only a lowly concubine-born daughter, she could still put on airs in front of all the noble ladies and receive endless praise. But now that both had turned cold, she lost her backing, and all that reputation as a talented lady became an illusion. The first sign was that all the banquets that used to invite only her now closed their doors. She went to ask and received the reply, Before we only invited second young Miss Shen. She was kind enough not to mind and brought you along, so we didn't say anything. Now that second young Miss Shen is gone, what right do you have to attend such banquets? After that, all the great houses that used to line up to form connections with her suddenly went silent, saying only that before the Shen family valued her and let her act like a legitimate daughter. But now General Shen had announced he would no longer manage her affairs. Lord Bu also forbade anyone from mentioning her. How could she compare to second young Miss Shen? Those words were like slaps landing hard on Shen Ningyuan's face. She was the proudest, the most arrogant and self-respecting, now suffering such humiliation, her future completely destroyed. How could she swallow this anger? So one night she set fire to the entire Shen residence, locking herself inside with Bu Ming and Shen Xingyun, who were drunk and unconscious, and screamed madly, If you miss her so much, then go meet her. I'm not comfortable, so you don't get to live peacefully either. The flames roared. In my haze I seemed to hear Shen Xingyun and Bu Ming both calling out in regret, Yunxi, Yunxi, Yunxi. The wooden window of the meditation room in the temple was smashed open. I jolted awake and looked up. Outside the window rain rippled. It was Bu Ming in this life who had broken the window and rushed in. By then I had already followed the Empress Dowager to the imperial temple for more than half a year. Just as the Empress Dowager said, this place was like a strict barrier separating us from the mortal world. No matter how I tried to inquire, I could learn nothing about the Shen family or Bu Ming. Only in the first month after I arrived at the temple, while the Empress Dowager was praying for her short-lived princess, I obediently followed and silently prayed for mother. Suddenly a palace maid approached and whispered something into the Empress Dowager's ear. After hearing it, the Empress Dowager opened her eyes, turned her head to look at me. I was confused. Niang Niang? The elderly lady reached out to help me stand, speaking as if making casual conversation. Tell me, isn't this funny? I heard that half a year ago General Shen and Junior Minister Bu suddenly wiped out the rebel remnants hiding outside the city. His Majesty was very pleased and they are now extremely glorious. But strangely, while they keep rising in rank with limitless prospects, that third young miss of the Shen family, the great talented Lady Shen, suddenly disappeared without a trace and shut herself away, refusing to go out. That was the first time since my rebirth that I heard news of Shen Xingyun. Shen Ningyuan and Bu Ming'ai understood nothing about them at all. The Empress Dowager saw my reaction and a hint of joy flashed in her eyes. She continued, His Majesty asked them what reward they wanted. They didn't ask for high positions or generous salaries, nor did they mention 1,000 gold or 100 taels. For some reason they set their sights on this imperial temple where this old woman is staying, saying only that the child is young and doesn't understand things, lively and mischievous, and might speak rudely and offend the elderly. So they begged His Majesty's grace to allow the child to leave the temple and return to the Shen family. As soon as she finished, my hands trembled. The Empress Dowager's expression did not change, as if she had not noticed, and asked me, Yunxi, do you want to go back? I panicked, my face paling. I stared at her blankly and shook my head in resistance. Niang Niang, can Yunxi not go back? No, that was resistance, not joy. In this imperial temple the Bodhisattva was good, the Empress Dowager was good. Every day I only needed to obediently chant sutras and chat idly with the Empress Dowager to get through the day. No one lied to me anymore, telling me to stay obediently in the courtyard and not take me out to play. No one laughed at me for being stupid and clumsy, for not knowing how to write poetry or play the pipa, for making them lose face. No one resented me to the point that I endured all those tortures, suffered until I no longer wanted to live, and jumped off a cliff to die. So I did not want to go back. I could not go back. I did not understand. Hadn't I already returned the credit to them? Hadn't I already gone far away? Why wouldn't they let me go? I clutched the Empress Dowager's sleeve, tears falling in large drops. I was afraid you wouldn't want me anymore, afraid you would tell me to leave, so I anxiously promised, Niang Niang, Yunxi will be good, Yunxi won't be mischievous, Yunxi will speak less and won't offend you. Can you let Yunxi stay? Yunxi doesn't want to go back. Because the pain was too great, the memory too long, I would forever remember that if there was a next life, I must stay far away from them. Tears fell one by one. A wrinkled hand gently wiped them away. Both surprised and sighing, she said, Why is this child so anxious? I was only asking. If you are wholeheartedly filial and don't want to return, then even if His Majesty speaks, I will not agree. Hearing this, I forgot to cry and asked blankly, Really? The Empress Dowager smiled. Of course it's true. They're just two little brats who want the person beside this old woman to leave. And they even slandered her with every word. Her expression turned cold. She flicked the incense ash from her fingertips and snorted. Who do they think they are? From then on, I truly heard no more news of the Shen family or Bu Ming. In this imperial temple, day after day, half a year passed in the blink of an eye. I never expected that today's spring thunder would suddenly roar, and Bu Ming would actually have the audacity to break the window and rush in, crash. Everything happened too suddenly. Outside came sounds of chaos and panic that startled both Bu Ming and me back to our senses. Bu Ming landed and, without caring about anything else, rushed forward, grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the window to jump. His voice trembled as he tried to suppress his emotions. Yunxi, something unexpected happened. It's the spring hunt. His Majesty was sincerely offering sacrifices. Passing by the imperial temple, he specially brought his ministers and their families to visit the Empress Dowager. Unexpectedly, assassins and rebels mixed in, causing chaos everywhere, blades and swords flashing. Come with me quickly. Shen Xingyun, your elder brother, he's also waiting for you. As he spoke, he pulled me to dodge the incoming blades, but soon felt his hand empty. Turning back, he saw I had stopped not far away. He called out blankly, Yunxi, I had only one thought, there are assassins. The Empress Dowager is old and moves slowly. There's a high chance she won't survive. I turned back and muttered, I have to go back. Yunxi. Bu Ming could not believe it. He hurriedly grabbed me again, his other hand frantically searching his body until he finally found something and held it up before me. You're still angry at me, so you deliberately won't go with me, right? But I know I was wrong, Yunxi. I truly know I was wrong. Before, I always thought you were stupid, not as intelligent and gentle as Ning Yuan. So even though my heart was moved, I refused to admit that the one I liked was you. Only later, when you no longer clung to me and no longer argued with me, did I regret it. He held up that handkerchief, the one with the clumsily embroidered clouds, his eyes red. The person I truly loved from beginning to end has always been you. With Ning Yuan it was only admiration and unwillingness to let go. I know you've also returned, right? This time I will never let you go again. Yunxi, the handkerchief is still here. Let's start over from the beginning. That was right. Bu Ming had never believed he would like a girl like me. He was famous for his talent and held the position of junior minister. Someone worthy of him should have been a refined, gentle girl like Shen Ningyuan. But I was truly too stupid, crude, flashy, and ignorant of elegance. Even my own blood elder brother despised me. Why couldn't I learn more from Ningyuan? So how could he possibly like me? The person he liked was Shen Ningyuan. She understood his poetry. Their minds were in perfect harmony. She was the red-sleeved confidant heaven had destined for him. If it weren't for the fact that every time he wanted to propose, she refused out of self-doubt, saying her status as a concubine-born daughter made her unworthy of him, he would never have invited me out again and again just to catch a glimpse of Ningyuan. So he told himself he absolutely could not like me. Even when mother spoke to him back then, he only agreed to put her departed soul at ease. He always thought that way until the moment he received news of my death. It was a sunny day, the kind of weather I liked most, but what he saw was my cold corpse. In that instant, he finally understood what it truly meant for pain to pierce the heart. Every scar on my body, every broken bone laid at night in the quiet, they stabbed into his heart like long needles, one by one. He thought, back then you were most afraid of suffering and most afraid of pain. How much pain did you actually endure? Perhaps 1,000, 10,000 times more than him? Would you have cried out for your elder brother? Or cried out for him, begging him to save you? But my elder brother did not save me, neither did he. I died because of their karmic debt, and it made him suffer so much he no longer wanted to live, filled with regret he could not undo. Countless times he thought, if he could do it all over again, if he could do it all over again. The flames roared. He called my name. When he opened his eyes once more, he truly got another chance. This time he and Shen Xingyun nearly recognized each other at the same moment. One glance was enough to understand the other had also returned. They were anxious, eager to make up for the mistakes of the past. But when they arrived, what they saw was not Shen Yunxi clutching the marriage edict in delight, but me in the temple, coldly and indifferently telling the palace maid, second young Miss Shen has already accompanied the Empress Dowager to the imperial temple. The mountains are high and the road is long, that means she will not return. Heaven only knew how much effort he had spent just to see me again this time. So he absolutely would not let me miss him again. He showed me the handkerchief. He had always carefully carried it with him and never lost it. But what did that have to do with me? I opened my mouth. The smile still on Bu Ming's face instantly froze. The person you liked wasn't Shen Ningyuan? In order to see her you didn't mind inviting me out again and again, and you didn't mind enduring me clinging to you. Now that there's chaos in the temple, you don't go find her, you come find me? And as for that handkerchief, I already said it's just a torn piece of cloth. If you like it, keep it forever. But Lord Bu, men and women should maintain proper distance. Please conduct yourself with dignity. If there is any more improper behavior, the Empress Dowager taught me. I will absolutely not show mercy, Lord Bu. Bu Ming was shocked. You're calling me that? He knew that before I only knew how to act spoiled with him, calling him Brother Bu. But now I no longer looked at him and ran toward the chaotic crowd instead. He hurriedly reached out. Yunxi, the next moment he let out a low groan. Blood poured from his palm, a silver needle had pierced straight through it. I already told you, the Empress Dowager taught me. She was just like mother. She would pin needles in my hair and say, little Yunxi, if one day someone bullies you, you must return it double. With me here, you don't need to fear anyone. I obeyed. Bu Ming could only clutch his hand and half kneel on the ground amid the chaos of people wielding blades and fleeing. I pushed against the flow of people. I seemed to see Shen Ningyuan pushing through the crowd. Her usual cold arrogance had diminished somewhat. When she saw Bu Ming not far away, joy appeared on her face. Young Master Bu, if this were the past life, no matter what, Bu Ming would have stood in front of her and taken blades and swords for her. But in this life, Bu Ming did not look at her. He stared fixedly at my retreating figure and shouted in a deep voice, Shen Xingyun. Only then did he notice assassins targeting me and Shen Ningyuan. Seeing the Shen family crest on our collars, the assassins realized we were Shen Xingyun's relatives. He and Bu Ming had killed many of their brothers. Today they would take the lives of our kin in revenge. Two long blades slashed down toward our heads, tearing through the wind. Shen Ningyuan cried out in terror, "Elder brother." Bu Ming did not hesitate for a moment to save Yunxi. Blood sprayed everywhere, splattering the faces of those nearby. Immediately after, Shen Ningyuan's tragic scream rang out. My hand, Shen Xingyun's sword in his hand, severed the neck of the assassin trying to attack me, then used the momentum to deflect the blade that had injured Shen Ningyuan. But in the end he only deflected it. The blade did not sever her head, but it did cut off one of her arms. Yet for Shen Ningyuan, that was no different from living death. Because she had always been proud and aloof like a flower on a distant peak. Playing the pipa with one hand was something she prided herself on and had received endless praise for. But today the hand that played the pipa was gone, and with it her self-proclaimed pride. From now on she would only be a crippled, useless person. How could she not go mad? Shen Yunxi, she gritted her teeth, full of hatred. She hated Bu Ming for making Shen Xingyun save me, hated that Shen Xingyun actually did it. But it was truly ridiculous before. When my elder brother was beaten with a staff for helping her, she said it had nothing to do with her, and she had not begged him. In my past life I endured countless rumors because of her, and she remained indifferent because it was others cursing, not her. But now when others chose not to stand on her side, she could not accept it and hated me instead. But what about me? I never begged Bu Ming or Shen Xingyun to save me. They chose on their own. What did it have to do with me? Besides, I did not need them anyway. Although that assassin's neck had been severed, his heart had been struck by my poisoned needle. Even though the long blade in his hand fell, it still flew straight toward me. In that critical moment, an arrow appeared, tearing through the air and striking the blade hard, knocking it to the ground. Immediately after came the sound of a horse neighing. Everyone looked over and saw a man in armor dismount neatly and decisively. The assassins around us were quickly eliminated amid smoke and chaos. He looked at me, I looked at him. Yunxi. Shen Xingyun called me, wanting to say something. He completely ignored Shen Ningyuan, who had lost an arm and was screaming in agony. But I only smiled, my eyes curving like spring wind turning to rain. He could not help but feel a secret joy, while Bu Ming, seeing this scene, only smiled bitterly. Because they both knew that before, whenever I saw Shen Xingyun I would smile like this and rush over calling elder brother. Everything seemed unchanged. After his rebirth, my elder brother had finally managed to save his little sister, while Bu Ming could no longer save the person he loved. But what did it matter? After all, he had already awakened his little sister. He owed her far too much. And Bu Ming himself was not worthy of being her match. Not forgiving him was fine too. Thinking this, he raised his hand and waited for me to walk over. But I lifted my foot and ran right past him, running toward the man opposite and throwing myself into his arms. That was the first time since my rebirth that they saw me so lively. My voice was filled with joy as I laughed and said, Ming Xiao, why are you here? The assassins had been eliminated. The dead and the escaped were gone. Silence fell around us, especially for Bu Ming and Shen Xingyun. They stared fixedly at the scene. Ming Xiao also hugged me back, his throat moving slightly as he replied, I'm back. The intimate gesture with no distance between us was broken by the Empress Dowager's voice. Yunxi. Where is my Yunxi? Did you abandon her again? You unfilial son. You forgot your sister. You died because you led the assassins away, didn't you? Why did you abandon her again? The old lady's memory had grown hazy. Supported by someone, she angrily scolded the emperor, both panicked and urgent. But everyone knew the emperor and I were not acquainted. The Empress Dowager had only mistaken me for her short-lived Princess Anru. Yet the emperor still let her scold him, his eyes full of guilt. Only then did Ming Xiao speak. Empress Dowager, you don't need to worry. I've already found Yunxi. Ming Xiao was the youngest nephew of the Empress Dowager, and a trusted confidant the emperor had watched grow up. During the half-year the Empress Dowager stayed at the imperial temple, he had been ordered to follow and protect her safety. Naturally, I had also grown familiar with him over those 6 months. Before, my temperament had been lively and unrestrained, but after rebirth I had almost completely restrained myself, even becoming cautious to the extreme. I would not have much interaction with others, especially since on the first day I arrived, he had been like a block of wood. The Empress Dowager told him to protect me, so wherever I went he followed. I wanted to leave but could not. I asked, can you follow me even to that place? He answered naturally. Then I immediately headbutted his chest hard, making him stagger back several steps, and scolded him for being rude. Only then did he look up and finally realize that if he followed any further, he would reach the women's latrine. In an instant, the tall, burly man's face turned bright red, his hands and feet flustered. It took him a long while to squeeze out a few words. I acted improperly. Then he turned and left, his ears red to a frightening degree. Idiot. I found it funny to watch. Later, the Empress Dowager often pulled him to dine with us, smiling and saying, "You're both young. Coming to this boring place with this old woman is a hardship, so you should talk more with people your own age." I did not want to talk to him much. Blockhead, wooden face, I disliked him. But he did not know what dislike meant. He only knew that when I was angry he apologized, saying it was his fault. When I was happy he curved his lips into a naive smile and smiled with me. When I unreasonably caused trouble he also stood there and let me vent my anger. After all, he had said his skin was thick and his flesh sturdy. I could do whatever I wanted. I showed no mercy. I laughed coldly. "Aren't you annoyed? Don't you see I'm rude and overbearing? The Empress Dowager is your relative. Who knows if you secretly tattle on me?" He frowned in confusion. I glanced at him. "Why?" he answered. "Yunxi will get angry. The Empress Dowager once said not to make me angry." Besides, he frowned as if he did not understand but still said, "I also don't want Yunxi to get angry." Straightforward, stubborn, and persistent to the point of stupidity, but only in front of him could I be my true self like in my past life. In short, although there was an incident that night, we ultimately passed through it safely, though not without some casualties. For example, the guards who died in the battle, and Shenning Yuan losing an arm while Lord Bu was also injured in one hand. It was truly ridiculous. In the past life, Shenning Yuan and Bu Ming had deep affection, sweet as honey, wishing the whole world would always mention them together. But in this life, when others sighed that the three talents of the forest were of one mind and a match made by heaven, even their injuries were in the same place. Ning Yuan lost a hand. Lord Bu could no longer lift heavy objects afterward. And what about General Shen? Seeing his two soulmates crippled, his spirit also declined. Recently his complexion looked terrible. Shenning was so angry she went mad. The furniture in her room was smashed to pieces all over the floor. She had to remember she was Shenning Yuan, the only daughter among the three talents of the forest. She could play an outstanding pipa, and there was nothing she was not skilled in: calligraphy, chess, painting, and literature. She had never been tainted by the smoke and fire of the mortal world and received endless praise. But now, she had become a laughingstock for the entire world. Even every word she spoke seemed like mockery and sarcasm. How could she endure it? In an instant she lost all her aloofness and detachment from worldly affairs and ordered someone to summon them. "I want to see elder brother. I want to see Bu Ming." But I was the one blocked by those two first. The first was Bu Ming. For the first time he was so panicked he said to me, "Yunxi, that Ming Xiao is not a good match. You can't just hand your entire life over to someone because you're angry at me." He did not understand. Clearly everything had been redone. He had already repented. He had always carefully kept that handkerchief. But why had I become different? He had to know that before, even when he abandoned me for Shenning Yuan, I could still forgive him. So why couldn't I this time? Of course I couldn't. I spoke as if it were a matter of course, my tone so decisive it hurt him. "Bu Ming, before you abandoned me for Shenning Yuan, you always said it was something important and I believed you, so I always forgave you. But you lied, didn't you? Back then you all thought the marriage edict was because of a lie that forced it through, so you couldn't even listen to half a sentence of my explanation. Everyone resented me and hated me. So you lied. How can you so righteously demand that I forgive you?" He opened his mouth but could not speak, instinctively touching the wound that had pierced through his hand. The injury on his hand seemed to hurt again, pain reaching the marrow. But I had no intention of softening because of his pleading gaze and continued, "You and Shenning Yuan were mutually in love. Of course I would feel uncomfortable, because back then I liked you. But in the end I would still bless you. But why did you hide it from me again and again, giving me the illusion that you also liked me?" Step by step I sank deeper. "Bu Ming, I only want to ask you, when you invited me out again and again to meet Shenning Yuan, speaking ambiguously to me, did you ever think even once that if it weren't for that mistaken marriage edict, and you and Shenning Yuan truly ended up together, what would happen to my ruined reputation? How much ridicule would I have to endure?" Bu Ming looked troubled and pained as he gazed at me. "I didn't want to hurt you. I only felt that my heart was broader than Shenning Yuan's. I was always stupid. Even if I was ridiculed I wouldn't feel bad for long, right? But Shenning Yuan is different. She's proud and competitive. If those ridicules and rumors weighed on her, she wouldn't be able to bear it. But why? Why should I bear those things for you? Why should I endure so much undeserved humiliation? Why should I forgive you? Every word of mine struck his heart like a hammer, making him retreat again and again until he had no face left. In the end, he could only stand before me with red eyes like a criminal, covering his face and choking with sobs. It's my fault. Yunxi, it's my fault. What use is saying these things now? In the past life, the Shen Yunxi who loved him had already died. No matter how bad Ming Xiao is, he would never make me suffer, much less despise me for being stupid because of external reputation. Since that's the case, why should I despise him because of a few words from an unrelated person like you? He still wanted to explain, to say that at least the affection he held for me was genuine, and that he and Shen Ningyuan were only soulmates who recognized each other too late, not romantic love. But before he could finish, a maid from Shen Ningyuan called him away. At first he was furious. Hearing the maid mention Shen Ningyuan, he shouted, "Tell her to get lost." The maid knelt in terror. Young Miss has lost her hand and now wants to die. Her last wish before death is to see Lord Bu one last time. Lord Bu, every word this servant says is true. Even if you no longer like young Miss now, the affection from back then is still there. You can't refuse to see her even for the last time, can you? I had to admit, she spoke accurately. Although Bu Ming no longer liked Shen Ningyuan now, he had never thought of wanting her to die. So he hesitated, looked up, saw the mocking look in my eyes, felt ashamed, and finally said, "Yunxi, I'll explain this to you slowly later."
And Yunxi?
Ming Xiao's voice came from the opposite side as usual. "It's time for lunch." Right then, before he finished speaking, I almost immediately threw Bu Ming to the back of my mind. My face once again recovered its radiant expression, as I smiled and walked past Bu Ming without looking back. I'm coming. The Empress Dowager always wants me beside her when she eats, especially after last night's chaos. I knew she was thinking of the princess again, so she treated me as a substitute. But I did not mind, because when I saw her I also thought of Mother. Two people who had lost their closest kin, lonely and alone, embracing each other for warmth. What was there to be troubled about? But even if we did not mind, someone else did. Shen Xingyun stood outside after I stepped out of the Empress Dowager's meditation room. I did not know how long he had been waiting. The first thing he said was, "You shouldn't treat Niang Niang like a mother. Yunxi, she isn't. So last night you shouldn't have disregarded your own safety and run back. It wasn't worth it." In his eyes, the Empress Dowager was incomparably noble and treated us only as pawns. Yet I had placed genuine affection in her. That was not worth it. But what was worth it? My elder brother was stunned by my question. Then he heard me continue. Is being despised by your own elder brother and told you're inferior to another younger sister worth it? Or dying on the road while searching for Mother, killed by the enemy's blade, meant for your elder brother? Is that worth it? Shen Xingyun's face turned deathly pale. That had been an accident. He struggled to say, "Yunxi, elder brother knows he was wrong. I've already killed 7 or 8 parts of those who hurt you. The rest who slipped through the net definitely won't live long. Since that's the case, can you forgive elder brother one more time?" "Of course I can," I answered without the slightest hesitation. Shen Xingyun looked up in joy upon hearing this, but then heard me ask, "After forgiving elder brother, can you return the shadow guards Mother left for me? Don't give them to anyone else anymore." In an instant his face turned ashen. That was right, those shadow guards had clearly been left for me by Mother. Mother had always feared we would be bullied, so both Shen Xingyun and I had shadow guards absolutely loyal to us. But when Mother passed, I was still young, so command of the shadow guards was given to Shen Xingyun. When I grew a little older, Shen Xingyun said I was stupid and feared I would do something foolish if I held them, so he never gave them to me. He said, "After all, they're yours. How could elder brother take your things?" But he truly had taken them. In the end, the shadow guards who should have protected me were casually handed over to another younger sister by him. That was how I died in the wilderness. Unable to close my eyes, Shen Xingyun cried. I did not know why he was crying. Clearly I had only asked for the shadow guards Mother left me, coaxing him and demanding them back. I even explained that they were Mother's relic, a relic left for me. I did not want to give them to someone else. Shen Ningyuan was so good. Elder brother had always wanted to take her as a blood younger sister. So elder brother could give her his share. I did not mind, truly did not mind. But somehow I said the wrong thing and he cried even harder. My elder brother Shen Xingyun had always been competitive, his words sharp and poisonous. Living with me he was even more unrestrained. Whatever he thought he said, no matter how unpleasant. After all, we were siblings born of the same mother. Even more serious matters did not need to be minded. After all, blood siblings did not hold grudges overnight. But now he was just like Bu Ming, saying to me that he had wronged me. I always felt that you and I are siblings born of the same mother. No matter what I do or say, you would never truly not want elder brother anymore. But, he choked and could not speak. Clearly he had promised mother he would protect Yunxi for life, safe and sound, absolutely not letting little sister suffer. But in the end it was he who caused me the most suffering and indirectly killed me? He shed tears of pain. If this had been the past life, I would definitely have anxiously coaxed him. But in this life I only felt confused and disgusted. Will you return them or not? Crying and wailing, without giving a definite answer. I'm busy. Last night's incident was too dangerous. The emperor had ordered that the Empress Dowager could no longer stay here. In 3 days, she would return to Jinling with the imperial carriage. In this period, there were still many matters to handle. I had no time to waste on him and could only remind him before leaving to remember to return them to me. Being with the Empress Dowager was very good. She would not scold me for being stupid or despise me for being foolish. She taught me that when angry, return it double. She did not say I was overbearing. She also taught me that when others mocked me, I should scold back. She did not blame me for losing face. General Shen, you are not allowed to speak ill of her. She is 10,000 times better than you. You are not worthy of being compared to her, and so the matter settled like dust. On the 3rd day, the emperor felt that most of the rebels had been wiped out and ordered Bu Ming and Shen Xingyun to determine a completely safe route. Finally we set off back to Jinling. Along the winding mountain path with lush grass and dense trees, Shen Ningyuan ultimately did not die. She only had a wound on her neck wrapped in cloth, still seeping blood. Because of this, Bu Ming and Shen Xingyun's attitude toward her softened somewhat. They let her ride in the Shen family carriage. The carriage swayed unsteadily, but her gaze never avoided me. She stared fixedly at me. When the assassins lying in ambush surged forward, swinging their blades viciously, she almost immediately took advantage of the chaos, drew a dagger, and stabbed toward the Empress Dowager's carriage. Protect Her Highness, protect Her Highness. The Empress Dowager also panicked. Seeing me shield her, she urgently called, Yunxi, how could you? How did these rebels find the way? Someone cried out in alarm. Shen Xingyun and Bu Ming's faces turned even paler with shock. Seeing Shen Ningyuan suddenly attack, they also roared, Yunxi, it's too late. Those rebels are risking their lives to block their escape route. Shen Ningyuan laughed coldly, watching me roll to the ground and barely block the dagger she was about to stab down. I knew it. As long as I attacked that old hag, you would definitely shield her. Shen Yunxishi, you're still as stupid as before. But, you already died, why are you alive again? She had pretended to be aloof and otherworldly her whole life. In this moment she could finally speak the truth, so she gritted her teeth and snarled, do you know what I hated most was that radiant willful appearance of yours? So stupid, yet there were always blind people who liked you. What about me? I wanted to have everything like that, yet I always had to be careful and cautious. Before, I could ignore all that. But now, because I saved you, I lost an arm. You destroyed everything I had. How can I not take your life? My aloofness was real, my detachment was real. But when all of that was destroyed, the fire of my hatred was also real. In the past life, that fire burned Bu Ming and Shen Xingyun. In this life, I still want to burn you too. So you tricked Shen Xingyun and Bu Ming into getting the defense map and colluded with the rebels to plot treason. I gripped the dagger tightly, not letting her advance even an inch. Bu Ming and Shen Xingyun were nearly driven mad. You already said it clearly, you just casually found an assassin to make Ming Xiao fail to protect you, so Yunxi would lose hope in him. But she lied. It was simply a fight to the death. You destroyed me, so today I don't just want to kill her. You failed to protect her, so you can only die with me. Madness and self-destruction flashed in her eyes. In the end, the dagger stabbed down toward me. Shen Yunxi, you will all be buried with me. Thud. My golden poison needle and Ming Xiao's arrow simultaneously pierced her body. The Imperial Forest Army, which had been in chaos, once again formed orderly ranks and slaughtered. This time it was not like the rebels' ambush but more like a trap the Imperial family had laid in advance. Shen Ningyuan's eyes widened. I, my palm full of sweat, retrieved the bracelet that had just shot the poisoned needle, still in shock. But I did not want to die with you. You? How could you? She could not believe it. She did not understand how I could have known, and even set a trap for her. But I did not know. I only opened my mouth and said, I only knew you wanted to kill me. So Bu Ming and Shen Xingyun would definitely help you, whether willingly or deceived. As for me, I've already died once. I'm most afraid of pain, so of course I wouldn't hesitate to report it to the Empress Dowager. From then on, this defense map was created. If everything was peaceful, naturally all would be well. If something truly happened, then those who deserved death would die. Those who deserved exile would be exiled. Shen Xingyun and Bu Ming were the ones who were punished and exiled. The Empress Dowager asked if I wanted to plead for Shen Xingyun and Bu Ming. They believed the rebels neglected their duty. That was a grave crime. The emperor was furious. They could be spared death, but they could not escape punishment while alive. In the imperial prison, they would endure layers of torture, then be exiled 3,000 li to the south. Even if they were lucky enough to survive to the place of exile, it would be a life worse than death. I shook my head. I had already begged once. In my past life, when I was tortured by those rebels, I had begged them to save me. It hurt so much I knew I was wrong, but none of them saved me. So in this life they had to pay the price for their decision. What did I have left to beg for? On the day of exile, Shen Xingyun still insisted on seeing me no matter what. He said, for the sakes of mother's face, we were blood siblings, perhaps this would be the last time we met in this life. Bu Ming also said, he could see me once more even in death, he would have no regrets for the sake of the many years we shared. But in the end I still did not go. Because the Empress Dowager, she was ill, seriously ill. The imperial physicians said it was a heart illness that could not be resolved. Even without these two great disturbances, the illness would have come crashing down like a mountain. On the day she was dying, I was pushed to the very front. The old woman's eyes were cloudy. She looked at me and reached out to place her hand on my face. The emperor's eyes turned red. I obediently answered yes. She called Anru again. I answered mother, but she smiled. Yunxi, you are not my Anru. You only grew up to look like her. I cannot mistake you. If I really mistook you, Anru would be angry with me when I go to the Yellow Springs. Just like I never mistook her for your mother. But if she had already distinguished clearly, why did she still treat me so generously? She cried and smiled at the same time. The first time I saw you standing alone, watching those three people being intimate. Your face was stubborn, but your eyes were full of envy. I immediately felt that if your mother were still alive and saw this, she would be heartbroken. We are both mothers. I am only taking care of the child another woman left behind in her place. Just like I also hoped that under the Yellow Springs, Anru without me by her side could meet a kind woman who wouldn't treat her like a daughter, but at least make my Anru suffer a little less. Yunxi? She grasped my hand. The Empress Dowager instructed the emperor, then said to me, your mother loved you very much, but her eyesight was poor. She mistook the person. This is not her fault. After all, no one can truly see what lies inside another person's heart. So even I don't dare to be certain. I had chosen the right person. She looked at Ming Xiao behind me, then at me, and finally pulled the emperor, who was quietly shedding tears, and said slowly, so I made the emperor promise that from now on, if your marriage is not smooth, you can completely divorce. He is not allowed to be biased, much less obstruct. Niang. Ming Xiao stepped forward and said seriously, I will not divorce Yunxi, nor do I want her to divorce me. She was amused by him and said, then you must treat her well for life after life. I know the person I watched grow up can definitely do what he says. So the last thread of worry also snapped. Finally she looked up at the rafters and called out again and again, Anru, my Anru mother has finally come to fetch you. Mother missed you so much, Niang. Mother, in the 31st year of Anlei, that other mother of mine also left. But this time I did not cry, because I knew you had come to fetch the daughter she missed day and night. She must have been very happy, unlike my mother. In my past life, when my soul flew out, my consciousness hazy, I instinctively followed her. But she was both angry and heartbroken, continuously driving me away. She said, go back, Yunxi. The voice echoed clearly like the guidance of reincarnation pulling me back. That was why I opened my eyes once more and obtained this life.